Hey friends, welcome to day 13 of Vlogmas. I missed a day yesterday, I just got kind of busy and ran out of time, but today I'm very excited to start, oh they don't show the cool, Bet Me, that's by Jennifer Kresley. I don't have the like actual cover on this book unfortunately, but I've been meaning to read Bet Me for a really long time. It's by Jennifer Kresley. It's really highly recommended by Sarah McLean and Jen Prokop on Fated Mates and a ton of other people. Like last night I was on a Zoom with some other friends, and when I said I was reading Bet Me, one of the gals who's like about to leave is like, okay, I have to stay because we're talking about Bet Me and I love it so much. But yeah, I've been meaning to read it for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I finally got it at the library. So excited to start that. So I'm going to give you guys some off-the-cuff thoughts as I read Bet Me by Jennifer Kresley. Also, I'm really excited to, I know you'll notice a change of scenery because I have a little friend with me. Precious Caroline is just hanging out, just being beautiful and snuggly. So that's why I'm here today. I'm just gonna hang out with this cool cat. I also stopped by a local donut shop called Dunwell Donuts, and I am excited to try out their eggnog donut and a maple chai latte. So you guys are gonna get first-hand experience. What are my thoughts? Oh, that's really good. The maple chai it's a lot more like savory than sweet. But this coming from me who likes to drink like straight sugar, so other people would probably consider it sweet. It's really good. It's really rich in flavor. I promise isn't now going to be a food account. But I feel like snacks are an important part of the reading process. And then this is okay, that's really good. It's a really good eggnog donut if you like eggnog. Honestly, if you don't like eggnog, it mostly tastes like the spices that are in eggnog. Yeah, it's literally just like yummy spices. Wow, so good. Okay, I promise, like I said, this is enough of my snacks. I'm gonna start reading Bet Me, and as I have thoughts that arise, I will let you know what those are. Oh, also, side note, I haven't like read like analyses, like I haven't read this book summary. Like I am coming to this pretty like just knowing that it's written in the 90s and a lot of people love it. But I've purposely not looked up any information because I want this book to be kind of a surprise. I do, however, know that there is a cat in this book because we were talking about books with cats last night on a Zoom call. And so I just want you to know this is a cold read. I know nothing. So you're getting fresh thoughts as they arise from my brain. You're welcome. Okay, right off the bat, I want to say something that's really delightful. There's like a little foreword to the reader by Jenny Kresley, where she's like, I didn't set out to write a fairy tale. Bet Me began as a straightforward romance novel. It was the second book that I wrote, and no one would take it because it was terrible. And no one wanted this book, and so I put it on my hard drive and I forgot about it. And then, she said, years later, I think, yeah, 10 years. 10 years she spent writing. Years later she returned to it. And I was like, this is still really terrible, but there's like a good seed of an idea here. And I really like that because I feel like there's, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of like readers of romance who want to write. There's a lot of readers who are excited about writing, but we can be so discouraged by like, oh, but I can't write, or like, I'm really bad at this. Like, I know, like, when I think about writing something, I'm like, oh, I'm really good at writing scenes, but like I have no idea how I would like string them together, and like how do I get from point A to point B? And like the idea that someone like Jenny Kresley, who I feel like is generally admired to be like one of the best contemporary romance authors, like from like early contemporary romance authors, is like someone who wrote a really terrible book and had to come back to it 10 years later and be like, this is still shit, and then kind of like pulled the story out of it. So that's really kind of heartening and also delightful, and I love that this initially was like a kind of run-of-the-mill boring romance, and then she's like, there's something here, like there's something good and I want to find it. So love that. Also, there's a quote at the beginning that says, women's total instinct for gambling is satisfied by marriage. And that's funny. Another thing I'm enjoying is I'm in the first chapter right now, and the heroine is being broken up with by this dude that she really just wanted to go to a wedding with her. And she is like being calm on the outside, but she's like furious on the inside, and she's contemplating poisoning him and like, how can I get rid of the body? And I just love that energy of like, screw this man, how can I murder him? Okay, I'm on page 19. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it is in the physical book, but page 19 of the 398. And the heroine breaks up with this guy. He breaks up with her, but she thinks that he's a dirtbag, like I said. But then sees this guy across the room who's hot, and her friend's like, you should ask him out. Like, you just need someone to go to this wedding with. And one of them's like, oh, I know him. He dated my cousin or something. He's like a hit it and quit it type. Like, wouldn't recommend it. But her friend's like, honestly, you just need a date to this wedding. Like, do what you want. Meanwhile, the heroine, Minerva, Min's, the guy that just broke up with Min, walks up to Cal, who's this guy that her friends are like, oh, you should pursue him, is like, oh, Cal, you should ask out that one, pointing to Min. And Cal's like, oh, I don't know. Like, and then he's like, I bet you can't ask her out. I bet you can't have sex with her. And he's kind of like, no, I'm good. And someone's like, no, $10,000. And like, suddenly it's just like this whole big thing. And his two friends kind of edge him into it. But as they're discussing this, Minerva is like about to approach Cal, but hears it and is like, screw these men. They're stupid. But then Cal's kind of edged into it, and he's like, I'll leave, like, I'm not gonna try and bet sex on this, like, I'll try and take her, like, leave with her, but like, I'm not gonna, like, do that. And his friend's like, no, you totally should. And so he's kind of edged into it, and so he, right now, is about to approach Minerva, and she knows what's going on here. So, also, the bet is that he has to leave with her for, I can't remember the amount of money, like, leave the bar, and B, if he can sleep with her within a month, he'll get $10,000. Oh my god. So Min is meeting the hero for the first time, and she describes him as having like a voice low and smooth, warm enough to be charming, and rich enough to clog arteries. And it says dark chocolate, which, incredible. But she also says he was the used car salesman of seducers, and that is a line if I have ever heard one. I'm now realizing she thinks that the bet is for $10, not 10 grand. So she thinks he's like especially trash for betting like $10. Little does she know, it's a bit more than that. Okay, I had to grab my phone real quick because this little muffin is being so cute. Look at her. Look at this cute little munchkin. She's so sleepy. She's so tired. Okay, this is kind of interesting. One of the reasons Cal felt kind of cornered into pursuing Min is that his ex, Cynthia, or Cynthia, was there, and he's like, I don't want to end up with Cynthia because she kind of gave him an ultimatum, like, we should get married or we should break up because that's kind of what I want right now. And he's like, deuces, I don't want to get married. And so he's like, oh, I want to avoid Cynthia, so I'm going to go ask out Min. And Cynthia is like a psychologist, and she's like breaking down the process of like mature love. And I don't know if I agree with any of it, but it is fascinating. Okay, another thing I'm really enjoying about this book is like, because Min knows about him like betting on taking her out, she like has no energy to like posture or like try and like fake it and like pretend that like things are great. Like she just has like he's like, oh, like, do you want to go to this restaurant? Or she's like, oh, I would like to go to this restaurant. And then he says like, she's like, oh, this restaurant's this way. And he goes, actually, I have an idea. We could go here. Unless you want to go this way. She goes, no, actually, I want to see what your taste in food is. Or she says, I know what my cell phone looks like. It has daisies on it. And I know I'm wearing a suit, but that doesn't mean I'm boring. I'm wearing scarlet underwear underneath. And he says, no, you aren't. And she goes, well, with that kind of attitude, you'll never find out. So I just like love her energy of like just being like done with this bullshit, like pushing this man, purposely being a little bit obtuse because she like doesn't care. This book also has like a lot of pickup lines, and it makes me wonder, like, were pickup lines ever really a thing? I have never encountered a pickup line in real life. Have you experienced a pickup line? Please let me know. I am curious. Okay, something else that is fantastic is Cal and Min have gone to this restaurant. It's closed technically, but he knows the owner and he's like the owner's favorite customer. So the owner is like serving them after hours, and Minerva is like dying because the food's incredible, and Cal keeps being like, look at me the way you're looking at that. Look at me the way you're looking at that food. And it's just very cute, good vibes. Also, as they're leaving the date, she like leaves, doesn't get his number, doesn't speak to it, like she addresses Amelia, the owner, and is like, Amelia, your bread is a work of art, your chicken is incredible, I'm dying. And Cal's like, hey, I'm right here, I paid for the dinner. And she's like, don't beg, and walks out the door. And then Amelia's like, Morrissey, you've met your match. And he's like, nah, we're never gonna go on a date again. And he goes, nah, I saw the way you guys are looking at each other. And he's like, oh no, that was like fear and loathing in our eyes. We're not into each other. And the guy goes, God, you're so dumb. And just perfect. And that is the end of chapter 2. So I'm very much into this. I think I have a few things I need to get done, so I might call it for this. Actually, screw it. We're gonna read one more chapter. Chapter 3. Also, Caroline is still hanging with me. Look at this cute little nugget. Look at her. She's so precious. Okay, 2 things that are delightful. Cal's friends who are with him and kind of involved in the bed, they're also his business partners, are Tony and Roger. Tony and Roger. Tony is 100% a Joey. Like, he's kind of dumb. He's like a jock. Excuse me. He's kind of dumb. He's a bit of a meathead jock. And he literally makes a comment of like, the plan is for you to get married and then I will live in an apartment above your garage and hang out with your kids. And I'm like, this is Joey energy. This is Joey from Friends, 100%. The other cute thing is that Roger meets Bonnie, Minerva's friend, at the bar the same night everything kind of goes down. And the next day at work, he's like, I'm gonna marry Bonnie. Like, she's the one for me, it's gonna happen. And the other 2 men are like, what? You literally met her like yesterday. He's like, yeah, no, she's one for me. And that's just some pure energy. It's beautiful, lovely, warm energy. So right now I'm reading a part in chapter 3 where Min is at her sister's bridal fitting. And the way that they're describing the clothes just feels like so 90s and so bizarre, but also like kind of magical and fantastic, which is honestly a great combination. But also Min describes her sister Diana as looking like a sex-crazed princess on heroin. And I need to see that. I need to see this. One thing that I really like in this book is that Min has a very fraught relationship with her mother. She's at this dress fitting and her mom continues to comment on her body and like how she should have lost weight and like she didn't buy the right size dress because she's like, oh, I assumed you were losing weight for your sister's wedding, which is such bullshit. But I love how Min has like very firm boundaries and like, you don't get to speak to me that way. And like she says at one point, Look, Mom, I'm never going to be thin. I'm Norwegian. If you wanted a thin daughter, you should not have married a man whose female ancestors carried cows home from the pasture. That is some bad bitch energy. That's some hot girl shit, which I love. But the other thing that's great is like Min and Diana like are very clearly sisters who care about each other, and they're very close, and they like make jokes together. And I really like that. My sister and I are pretty close. We live together. And I just like seeing siblings who are happy and like each other in books. All right, so, oh, big stretch from Caroline, big cutie. Look at this little muffin. Look at this little cutie. She's so precious. So, I just finished chapter 3. I'm now on page 71 of the 300. It's pretty much 400. I'm really enjoying this book. I think Min is a great character. Yeah, she's just like, she has Cat Stratford energy, which is my fave. As I'm sure you're aware, me back on my bullshit talking about 10 things I hate about you. This is a Stan account, be prepared. But yeah, she just like knows what she wants. She is unapologetically herself. She's funny. She's like she's a quick wit. And I like that she and Cal, like spar with each other. Like their energy is very kind of like sharp. But they also have like great chemistry. And I also like the way that, and I think it really works as like a rom-com, particularly like as like a 90s rom-com, because they each have their like group of friends that they like are with, and they kind of have like great repartee within that. And it's interesting because in some ways the way that she like creates the friendships really kind of is world building in and of itself, which I think we don't always think about with contemporary, unless it's like contemporary, oh, Caroline, she's such a cutie. But yeah, I think we don't really think about world building in contemporaries because it's our own world, and so there's this like idea that we don't need to. But I think it's really important, and like when it's done really well, I notice it but it is world building in the sense of like the world of the book and the world of these people, and kind of setting like what it looks like. Yeah, and like I said, I love the sister relationship. I think Diana and Minerva also like interesting move for these parents to name them after Roman goddesses. A bold move. But yeah, like I said, I just read the first 3 chapters. I'm really enjoying it. It definitely has the enemies to lovers vibes that I love. It's really funny, and it's like funny and it's quick. And I think with a lot of like modern rom-coms, they aren't always very funny. Like I think Talia Hibbert does a good job of being really funny. I think Alexis Hall does a good job of being really funny. I'm sure there's others. Those are just the first 2 that come to mind. But this book is funny. I like that. Also, so I was thinking about the book I talked about yesterday, or 2 days ago, Sugar Daddies by Jade West, I think. And I should double check. Is that by Jade West? Is it by Jade West? It is by Jade West. The other thing I thought about is that the whole premise of the book, like you find out partway through that the hero, Rick, the only one with POV, really wants like a family and a child, and Katie like doesn't, like she doesn't want a kid at all. And they like solve that by like at this big race at the end of the book. She and her horse like slightly miss a jump, and she like clips the horse's hooves on the top of this jump, and they both fall, and they're both like seriously injured. And essentially they're like, oh yeah, your horse is like, the doctors are like, your horse will never be able to compete again. It may or may not be able to walk. You should probably put it down. And so the Carl and like Katie's dad and Rick like make sure that like the horse isn't put down. But like, so she's unable to compete with her horse. And then she's like, well, I guess now that I've really thought about it, like I want to like be your partner and we can have kids. But like the reason that doesn't work for me is it very much felt like, oh no, the reason the heroine doesn't want children is because she has other plans for her life. So we'll just wreck those plans and then she'll have children. And I think that, I think that for a very long time, like children have been a part of like a family, like a hero-heroine getting their HEA. Like it's kind of part and parcel, like there's a whole joke about like, oh, the epilogue is the baby epilogue. And I think there are so few books where there aren't, like, there's not a baby. I mean, there's more, I think, now, but like there's so few books where a heroine says, I do not want children, and they don't have children, or at least like there's so much fewer than there's much less that do that and they still don't have kids than the ones that are like, I don't want children, and they're like, JK. And I think like I particularly now, like I know a number of people who like are choosing to not have children or like can't have children, and I think it was so frustrating and felt like kind of clumsily done to me that like, oh, we'll just take away this woman's dream and then she'll want children. Whereas like if there was some sort of like emotional like, oh, well the reason I wanted to not have children and do like I would have bought this if Katie was like, the reason I don't want to have children is because when I was a kid I didn't know my father and I thought my father didn't want me, and so I didn't want to have children because I felt unwanted as a child. But so like if Katie had that realization and was like, this is dysfunctional because this is not in fact reality because my father didn't know about me and he would have wanted me. So, and like if that was her kind of like healing process of realizing like this unresolved trauma of her childhood, and then was like, actually I think I do want children because the truth is that that I don't require love or feeling wanted by my father to be like a happy, healthy, fully fulfilled person. But also, this was like a misalignment of like, you know, like the whole, like this wasn't the truth that I was unwanted. And so like if that was like, if the culmination of the plotline of like, I don't want children, but my partners do, was realizing a false belief that I had about the world, realizing the truth, coming to grips with the truth, and then like after having that whole character growth moment, realizing like, actually, I would really like to have a family, and I value that. And previously this is what I had thought, but after, and there was no kind of processing. It was just like, oh, now that my dream of starting like a farm yard with my horse is something that I can't realize, like I guess I'll just like be your breed mare and have your children. And I mean, this is not to say that it's not going to work for everyone, and this is not to say that it is a bad book, but I really didn't find that worked for me, and it was difficult for me to kind of buy that plot line because I felt like the emotional work was not there for her to be like, yeah, I'll have kids. So yeah. Sorry, I bring this up because I ended up talking about it last night at the like reader Zoom call with some friends, and I was like, I have more thoughts on this book. So yeah, I am gonna be keep reading Bet Me by Jennifer Cruzy. I'll continue doing probably a few more of these like check-ins this next week. We'll see. I also I just got Demon Forged, so I'm hoping to read that a little quicker, so that I can make that cool t-shirt for Sarah Hawley. Oh shit, I hope she didn't watch this video, or the last one. She probably didn't. She's a busy gal. Yeah, she's a busy gal. So I have those two books. I'm also listening to Demon from the Dark, ooh, for the Immortals After Dark group read that we're doing. This one, I think my favorite Immortals After Dark books are Demon from the Dark, Dark Needs at Night's Edge, and Wicked Abyss. And we already read Dark Needs, and we're just starting Demon from the Dark, which is Malcolm Slane's book. And like, if you like Zadist in the Black Dagger Brotherhood, you will like Malcolm. Or if you like, gosh, I was talking about this. I think it's like Dance the Night Away by Sherilyn Kenyon. The hero also has a Z name. But you will like Malcolm as well. Because like Zadist, and I don't know much about the Sherilyn Kenyon one, but Malcolm was like kind of out of the gutter. He was like like very low class. He's a demon, by the way. And he was like used as a blood slave, essentially, by a vampire. And he like was kind of freed from that, or I think he eventually went back and killed the vampire because he's like this big, buff, strong dude. By the way, this is all like the knowledge you have in the first chapter, so I'm not spoiling anything. So he like becomes friends with the prince of the like demon prince in like the world that he lives in, and he's like one of the biggest fighters, and he's like so strong and so brave and like so dedicated to his friend Callum. But people don't respect him because he was a blood slave, and they like think that he's like scum, and he like doesn't know how to read. Actually, I think he might have learned because the prince helped him, but like they just don't respect him as he should be respected. And then this guy overthrows the prince and like partners with vampires to like take over the world, like this like world they live in, because this is a series of multiple worlds. Anyways, so Malcolm and the prince have been captured, and they're turned into vampires against their will. And at this point, Callum tries to kill Malcolm to like survive, and Malcolm's like so like devastated and betrayed, and he like protects himself, but by protecting himself he does kill his best friend and like the only person who cared about him. And like I said, this is all within chapter 1. So the first chapter starts and like Malcolm, or the first chapter like ends and like Malcolm has like escaped and like has run off to live in this like cave in this big mountain. And the heroine, Caro, has been captured. This is also, I think, maybe start of chapter 2. It's also at the end of the last book in the series. Caro has been captured by these people who are capturing and testing magical beings. It's humans that are like trying to protect the people from, but the thing is, they're not always villains that they're taking. Like they're taking good people like Caro. And they essentially threaten Caro to go get Malcolm. So they send her off into this like other world, this other realm, to like bring Malcolm back within like a certain time period. But they don't speak the same language, which I know Ruby Dixon does this. I really like it, mostly because I really like this book, because it like requires them to work really hard to understand each other and like learn each other. But they like find each other, Malcolm and Caro, and it's so good. I love them so much. He's a virgin hero, which we love. And there's also a scene where like she refuses to like touch him or anything, even like I think non-sexually, like not just like until he bathes. And so, but he like doesn't understand because they don't speak the same language. And so she like pushes him into the water, and then like after he's like been cleaned a little bit, she's like, he's hot. And like the tension in this scene, I cannot describe to you how utterly delicious it is. Like it is so good. Anyways, I digress. I'm listening to Demon from the Dark. It's one of my fave Immortals After Dark books, one of my favorite paranormal romance novels. I'm going to be reading Demon Forged, and I'm going to continue reading Bet Me. So this is what I'm up to. Oh, also, I read The Naughty List by Ellie Mae MacGregor. Oh my god, you guys. So I don't know if you guys follow her on on Instagram, but Ellie Mae MacGregor is on Instagram as the Bisexual Book Nerd, and she's so funny. I love her reviews. This is her first published work. By day, I think she's a grad student studying teaching in Spanish. She is awesome, super great, definitely recommend following her. The Naughty List is so good. It's a Santa Claus, it's like a novella, it's like I think 60 pages, so it's pretty short. It's a Santa Claus book, hot for Santa, single mom, I think she's like 40 and I think he's roughly the same age. Super sexy, really funny. There's an ABBA reference. There's a Katie Roberts shout out at the beginning, not by name, but if you know, you know. It's so fun, it's so hot, it's just utterly delightful. Okay, my phone died and it cut me off, but I was probably getting a little long-winded anyways. So, moral of the story, if you're looking for something short, utterly hot, really lovely, sex positive, and like a warm fuzzy. Highly, struggling with my words, highly recommend reading The Naughty List by Ellie Mae MacGregor. It is delightful and it's only 99 cents, so highly recommend. So yeah, that is what I've been reading. That's what I read today. I will check in again tomorrow morning, but this will be up very soon.